So it seems that it's a pretty massive Warhammer 40k release week once again. We've got the full new Aeldari range dropping alongside its Codex, plus a few other interesting reboxes and conspicuous absences. Let's talk about the latest release with some confirmed pricing. Hello and welcome back to Warspec Tactics, where today we're talking Eldar, and it seems that 2025 is starting with a bang for Warhammer 40k. We've already had the Guard with their Deathcore launch box, and now we're straight on to the Aeldari Aspect Warrior release wave. I was kind of suspecting that there'd be a good chance that the Aeldari might kind of leapfrog the Guard, have their launch box come out, and then it's on to the Aeldari Codex, and then it'll be the Guard full release wave after that, the one with the Codex on sale individually and the individual Deathcore kits. For this one, it seems that pre-orders will be going live on Saturday the 25th of January, with full release in stores on the 8th of February, and it's basically the full Aspect Warrior release wave that we saw at their Warhammer Fest previews, the ones that we got alongside the Deathcore of Krieg reveals. Basically, the launch wave is an individual kits one. It seems that at the moment there's no big Battle Force box set and no Combat Patrol, which do both feel conspicuous by their absence, but it basically feels like the Aeldari catch-up Phoenix Lord release wave. 4 Phoenix Lords in Asurmen, Baharroth, Fuegan and Lhykis, 3 Aspect Warriors in Fire Dragons, Warp Spiders and Swooping Hawks, 2 reboxes of the Wave Serpent and War Walkers, both having their format very slightly changed but not really meaningfully altered, and also the Aeldari dice and data cards. It does seem that the Aeldari that we got previewed last time was the full wave for this release at least, and it seems that that's all that we're getting. There's no Iriel or Illic or anything like that, not that I was necessarily expecting them to save surprises till when the Codex came out. It does mean it should be another big news week for Warhammer 40k though. I'm sure we'll start to get rules previews of the Aeldari as Games Workshop drop them through the week. As ever, if you were looking to pick up some shiny new Aspect Warriors, Codexes or Phoenix Lords, feel free to check out the discount retailers linked in the video description when they go live. These ones have discount versus Games Workshop's Warhammer web store and help to support Warspec Tactics at no extra cost to using them if you were happening to pick some things up anyway. In the UK there's Element Games for 15% off, in Australia there's Gap Games for 21%, in Canada there's Fenris Workshop for 10%, Wargame Portal has 15% in the USA, and Tesh and Geldeep is 16% off in the EU. These are the pre-order times for the new models at those stores. Unlike big launch box releases where it's basically one and done and we have no idea what sort of supply they have, there should be at least fairly good supply of all of these ones, though the occasional thing can sell out. Sometimes popular model kits do sell out at discount retailers at the pre-order launch wave if you want things early, so maybe it doesn't hurt to be early if it's convenient and you know that you're picking up the thing anyway. In any case, as per normal, it'll be midnight between Friday and Saturday Eastern Time in Wargame Portal and Fenris Workshop, 10 AM Saturday in the UK, 11 AM Germany in Tesh and Geldeep, and midday Australian Eastern Time down under. In any case though, let's talk about what is and isn't here. First up, unless Games Workshop pull any surprises on us, it does seem that the Aeldari don't have any sort of launch box or Battle Force deal coming this year, which is kind of a surprise really given their pattern with 10th edition. So far I think beyond Abmech and Necrons, literally every single other codex in 2024 got a Battle Force or launch box, often with one of the new characters to sell a bunch more models. It's maybe kind of surprising that Aeldari aren't actually getting a Battle Force at this point. I was expecting that one or more of the Phoenix Lords might be locked to a big Battle Force box set alongside a bunch of other things that had already been out for a while, and then they'd hold off on the release of those kits until a later date, but it seems that Games Workshop's just going for the full price single plastics and not messing around with limited edition big boxes this time. I guess it's still possible that Aeldari could get some other non-Codex release. I feel like they'd be heavily odds on for an Aspect-themed Christmas Battle Force at the end of 2025 given Games Workshop's usual release patterns. If they've got a whole bunch of new shiny models that haven't been discounted coming out in the range, I feel like that's the exact sort of thing that Christmas Battle Forces tend to target these days, so I really wouldn't be too surprised if we don't see a whole bunch of Aspect Warriors in one of those. Otherwise, it seems that they're delaying the release of the Combat Patrol box set as well. Kind of annoying not to get the news on that one. I guess we'll know about what's in the Combat Patrol set within the week now. Usually gets revealed when the Codex info comes out, though they might well tell us that at some point this week over the various preview articles they tend to do. In any case, the old Combat Patrol is out of sale from Games Workshop, the one with the Guardians, Wraithlord and Windrider jet bikes. It feels like it's odds on to be worse than this one in some way. So far the 10th edition ones have typically had lower discount and lower points included, and in particular tend to be in favour of taking out big stuff like Wraith Lords or any tanks that might have been in them. It feels like there's probably a good chance that some of the new models might well be in the Combat Patrol set if they're delaying that one. I feel like the reason that they delayed the Blood Angels one with the Sanguinary Guard was maybe to encourage people to buy the Sanguinary Guard individually before they let the discount deal out to play. I guess we'll see with that one though. Getting into the models and their prices properly though, First up for the Phoenix Lords we have Lhykis the Whispering Web, a new character in the lore, and she'll be £28, $45 or €35, the same price as Games Workshop's normal Epic Hero price point. From the previews we heard that she's going to have a primary sword attack with a blade called Vatican the Weave Render, extra attacks from arm-mounted monofilament injectors similar to the Harlequin's Kiss, and a couple of death spinners worth of shooting as well on those shoulder-mounted ones. I feel like the model's really quite cool as well, having her bursting out of the warp in a sort of spiderweb-like explosion, and apparently she grants the ability to flicker jump and charge if leading warp spiders. If that hasn't been nerfed from its 24-inch move, then that's kind of a ridiculously guaranteed way to get her into combat if she does have at least somewhat acceptable melee stats. All looks very scary indeed. To join her, we've got the new Warp Spiders, 40k's oldest kit updated. They're now £40, €51, 25 or $62, and in general their models felt fairly well received, pretty faithful recreations but just brought into the more modern plastic age. Apparently they're still going to be keeping their 24-inch flicker jump rule, which has made them really useful for jumping about and doing secondary objectives dead reliably. And it seems that the 3 new Aspect Warrior kits kind of mirror the other ones that have come out. The Exarchs basically have 3 different head choices and 3 different choices of weapons. The Warp Spider one can take any combination of power blades and death spinners, so he can have extra death spinners or extra power blades, apparently up to a big 10 attacks if he takes 4 power blades and no death spinners, or can take the option of a spinneret rifle. Next up, we've got the rather beautiful model for Baharroth, Cry of the Wind. I think they really did the Phoenix Lord of the Swooping Hawks justice, and he's the same price as Lhykis as the standard price tag for most biggish named characters. He's got really quite a fun model, and I like the paint job that they've done for him. He's now apparently going to be the one with the ability to allow Swooping Hawks to return to reserves and jump on and off the table. He was dead powerful with that in 9th edition, though if it does just keep the same way that Swooping Hawks do that now, might just be a little bit less so given that he might want to get into melee. He will be able to chip in some fire with his Fury of the Tempest Hawk's Talon though. He'll be coming alongside the Swooping Hawks, the same price as the Warp Spiders at £40, €51 or $62.50. Again, a fairly typical Games Workshop price point, that one, for somewhat elite infantry, similar to say the Sisters of Battle Seraphim. Again, pretty nicely done and well received resculpts, proving that Games Workshop can make some nice winged jump packs if they want to, just not for the Sanguinary Guard. And again, the Exarch gets the choice of 3 different head options, with the option of some different fancy crests on him, and the Swooping Hawks one gets the option of a Hawk's Talon, Power Sword and Sun Pistol, or a Scatter Laser, so a bit of an upgrade on the equipment that he could take there. Apparently in the Codex they're going to have changed, and as mentioned won't be jumping on and off the table via their special rule, instead that's going to be swapped out for a dropping grenade style rule. I guess that might be one of those mortal wounds drive-by attacks, if they fly over an enemy infantry unit maybe dealing a certain amount of mortal wounds to them, and that has also been an ability that they've had in the past. Next up, we've got new Fuegan of the Fire Dragons, again the same price tag as the rest of the Phoenix Lords. His was the model that leaked a bit early when Games Workshop posted it out to someone who dutifully assembled it and shared it. Again, a really fun, well-received model, an enormous, ridiculously large fire pike, a fancy back banner with a dragon on it, holding the fire axe in his other hand, and some nice sizzling flames on a Chaos Space Marine skull on his base. It looks like from the sort of basic trimmed down datasheets that came with him. The beam mode is listed at sustained 2, and the lance profile of it gained the assault keyword, though basically the rest of the datasheet was the same. And bear in mind that that's just a sort of limited packaging datasheet that might not entirely be accurate with what we find out in the Codex. Next up, for him to lead, we've got the Fire Dragons themselves. Their pricing is £40, €51, 25 or $62 once again. These ones fairly faithful recreations of their old metal then resin kit, coming with the usual choice of 3 different helms for the Exarch, and the Exarch either has the option of the Mighty Fire Pike, a Dragon Axe and Fusion Pistol, or a Dragon Breath Flamer to bring some burning heat. It does feel like the Fire Pike does have good odds to be the best one to go for some serious firepower, and according to their rules previews they said that they'd gain 4 rerolls to hit, wound and damage against tanks and monsters. That's to be a big upgrade on their current profile, which is still strong. They have been fairly strong in game currently, maybe getting to where they need to be out of Falcon grav tanks to deliver their destruction of Khaine to the enemy. Finally, for the new model releases, we've got the updated Asurmen. Again, he's that same price point of £28, $45 or €35, and apparently he's going to be keeping his Strength 6, AP 3 and Damage 3 melee, all very general purpose, though it doesn't look like there's any new Dire Avengers for him to lead this time around. He's going to be running with the same ones with their plastic kits. Again, a pretty fun model. I feel like they've really gone for kind of retro vibes with Asurmen here, particularly with that paint scheme. Definitely feels like more of a modern take on a sort of classic 90s 40k paint scheme. And again with a fancy back banner that does seem to be bearing a picture of his own face just in case you forget what he looks like while looking at him. Then to go alongside all that, we've got Codex Aeldari, £37, $60 or €47.50, the same as other Games Workshop 40k codexes in 10th. This one's going to be a pretty enormous tome with a massive 192 pages in it apparently. The Aeldari book's often been a big one, and particularly so since they rolled in the Harlequins, and it seems that the unit list is going to be expanding yet more with the Drukhari units that the Inari can field folded in here as well. They're going to have their own versions of the datasheets, so I guess they can be altered and changed and things and have different points cost here compared with the Darkkin themselves. From the datasheet cards, with all of those combined, it sounds like there's going to be around about 65 or 66 units. We know that because Games Workshop said there'd be 71 datasheet cards, and they contain the Army Rule and Combat Patrol datasheets as well, and everything else will be in the Codex. I guess we'll see whether Illic and Prince Iriel make the cut, and whether or not there's any other surprise datasheets gained or lost, or reinterpreted. Otherwise, for the Codex previews, I'm sure we'll get far more this week, but basically we know that Strands of Fate, with the big Fate dice and subbing them into certain roles, that'll be going away as the main faction rule and restricted to the Seer Council detachment, and instead they'll be picking up Battle Focus as their core rule once again, which in the past has often been move, shoot, move to threaten the enemy and then stay safe. It might not necessarily have that exact same rule this time around, but it certainly could. Maybe it might be something along the lines of you can move, shoot, move with a certain amount of units depending on battle size, maybe moving d6 inches on the second movement, or some sort of advance and charge or advance and shoot type thing. I'm sure we'll know more details later in the week. Otherwise, they've said that there's 8 detachments for the Codex. I believe in their preview for this one they said there was the Seer Council, which has Strands of Fate but changed a bit, War Host, which sounds like the Battle Host, the Wind Rider Host for the jet bikes, the Ghost of the Webway, which is apparently going to be the Harlequins one, the Aspect Host, no doubt focusing on Aspect Warriors themselves, the Wraith Host for all your Wraith constructs, the Inari one to fold in those Drukhari units, and I guess we'll see how that interacts with the Inari leaders. And presumably there'll be one more on top of that. They did say 8 in the Codex, so I guess in total the Aeldari will wind up with 9 different ways to play, once you've added in that slightly underwhelming tank-related one from Grotmus. Overall, definitely looks like there's going to be a whole ton of info to cover. Then for supporting releases, we've got the dice and data cards, plus 2 reboxed kits. The faction dice are a sort of glowing orange gemstone effects type ones. They'll be Games Workshop's normal price of £19, €24 or $33. And the datasheet cards will be again their normal price of £20, $35 or €26 if you want the flash cards to be able to reference their rules quickly in game. Finally, we've got those 2 kits that are reboxed. Previously they had the Falcon and the Waver Serpent as 2 separate boxes, now they're going to be the same one. It looks like these ones will be rising to the increased price of $65, I believe they were $60 before each. I've not seen UK or EU prices for these 2 specifically, but that should equate to £42 or €55. It maybe does make sense just from simplification that they could be the same kit, given that the one is basically an extension of the chassis of the other, and they just have different turrets beyond that. I guess if they can be made to work together it doesn't hurt. The model's actually a fairly old one as it goes for 40k now, though I feel like as all plastic kits go it holds up about as well as any do. It also looks like it will be available from discount resellers, so it might just be a little bit easier to get hold of than the direct only ones that came before, and that might not be the most unhelpful thing for people looking to pick them up. Finally, we've got the War Walkers. Their price is confirmed at $80, and they've just basically been reboxed in a set of 2 of them. At $80, say going by the Space Marine Scouts, that'll be around about £47 or €62, and it basically looks like they're more or less double the cost of what one individually was before. I wonder if being available in box sets of 2 might be a hint that you can fail them in units of 1 to 2 again, similar to the Astra Militarum Sentinels now. If so, then they'd basically be doing the opposite thing to what the Sentinels did, as you could take those in 3s and now you can only take them in 2s, but for the War Walkers you can only take them in 1s at the moment, so now you'd be able to take them in 2s again. I guess we'll see on that front, but unless it comes at a bit of a price drop for some places, I guess in theory it's not quite as good a deal if you wanted, say, either just 1 of them or just 3. In any case though, looks like a busy one for the Aeldari. Hopefully Games Workshop start to give us some fun rules previews of all their many detachments sometime this week. I'll certainly look forward to report on it on videos when they do. As mentioned, if you were looking to pick up some of the Aeldari kits, there's some of the channel affiliate links in the video description below, and a massive thank you to anyone who's supporting the channel through them when they do happen to buy things. I'll leave this one there for now though. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and let me know if there's anything that I might have missed in terms of information they've released about the stuff, and stay tuned for more updates if Aeldari leaks or previews drop this week. Finally, beyond the discount links, if you'd like to support the channel more directly, Warspets Tactics does have a Patreon page as well, and you can find that linked in the video description if you'd like to help support the videos and keep them coming. Channel patrons do get a few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things come next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.